In 2023, we went to deer camp hoping to bring home a buck, but we ended up bringing home a wild dog that had been living alone in a barn for almost a year. And honestly, he became the real trophy of that hunt.
So we headed to the airport, scooped up Lorenzo, made the drive to the farm, got the TP tent and camp set up. It's kind of a weird year. Rut was in full swing. Deer were pressured, so there wasn't a lot of activity, but there was always a constant presence.
A redbone coonhound that kept showing up everywhere, hanging around the barn, running up and down the roads. And then one day he actually came and stole a deer leg of Lorenzo's.
When I was a kid, my favorite book was Where the Red Fern Grows, and I've always loved redbone coonhound. So seeing him there definitely felt like something bigger was going on. So one of the mornings, Parker and I headed into the field, dragging a scent line, got into the tree, and we noticed something moving in the CRP bottom. Didn't know if it was a deer or a coyote, and it turned out to be the dog. So I messaged the landowner and asked if he could shock it or call it or something, get him out of the field. He was interrupting our hunt. And that's when he told me that it wasn't his dog. It had been living in his barn for a year. That's when the hunt stopped being about a deer and became about bringing this dog home.
Dad, I asked you if we could bring him home, and you said you had to ask mom.
Yeah, so I messaged my 6 month pregnant wife with baby number 5 and figured we'd add to the chaos at home and said, hey, there's a stray redbone coonhound here. Parker and I think we should bring him home. And she responded immediately, send us a pic. And so I sent her a pic of him hanging out at the barn, and it just melted her heart. And she said, yep, bring him home. So that's when it turned into a rescue mission. Parks and I headed to the local fleet farm, grabbed some treats and a kennel, and Parker spent the next couple days trying to befriend the dog. Took him a little bit of time to gain his trust, feeding him treats. Anytime the dog smelt or saw me, he took off. Landowner had mentioned that kids had gotten close, but no adults, and he was definitely proving that point. He was even a little skittish with Parker. So one of the nights, Parker asked if I'd run him up to the barn so he could see the dog, and so made the quick drive up there, dropped him off. He headed in, and you remember what happened?
Yeah, he growled at me when I was walking into the barn. I was trying to go say hello, and he was growling pretty loud too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely letting him know that he didn't feel safe at that time. And I think Parker was 12 at the time. And so he came back a little hurt. And I said, hey, man, it's all right. Dog's probably just as scared as you are walking in there. He's just letting you know that this is his home, and he's setting a boundary. So we respected it and went back to camp. When I finally got close enough to the dog, Parker had become his friend at that time, and I had to lay on my back, and Parker walked out to me and let him know it was okay to be near me. And he came up and smelt my shoe and then took off running. A few minutes later, he decided to come back, and he actually got pretty close to me. Let me pet him a little bit. I could tell he had a pretty big scar across his neck. He had a collar that was far too tight, and he was pretty banged up. Nicks on his body, a split tongue, split ear, missing tooth. But he definitely fit in with our crew. So I think it was the day after I got close to him. Parker and I were sitting in a tree, and Lorenzo shot me a message and said, hey, there's this weird buck on the farm. You think I should get rid of him? He sent me a picture, and it just looked like an 8-pointer that was missing a side. And Lorenzo said, no, it's got a weird antler growth that was growing right down its face near its mouth. And so I said, well, if your heart's set on taking the buck, sure, but it looks like a good buck for Parker. And so uh, Lorenzo, being the gentleman and scholar that he is, said, I agree. So Parker and I headed back to camp, grabbed a ground blind, took it into the food plot, set it up, went back, grabbed some lunch, and that afternoon we went and made a play. It wasn't much longer. We had a couple doe come into the plot, meandering around. I think early afternoon I rattled, and we heard some rustling in the brush. Couldn't tell what it was. It got close to us. I remember it was right behind the ground blind. And it ended up being a nice 9-point buck that walked out to our left. And immediately to our left, Lorenzo's sitting on the other side of a field watching us from a climber. So he sees this nice 9 point. He sees us in the blind. He's thinking Parker's going to seal the deal. And he's sending us a bunch of text messages asking, what's taking so long? What are you guys doing? Well, unbeknownst to him, the club buck and a 6 pointer had entered the food plot right in front of us. And then there was a 10-minute standoff.
He and that 6 pointer were feeding in the food plot for about 10 minutes, facing us the whole time. He wouldn't turn broadside. Right before the 6 pointer headed in the woods and he was about to follow, and he whispered to me,
Yeah, I said, I'm going to stop him. And when I do, send one. And so I stopped him. Parker let one
"Yeah."
fly. Shot looked good, maybe a little far back, and he peeled off into the woods. And we headed back to camp, grabbed Lorenzo, went back to track blood. Parker tracked him for about an hour, found him. Lorenzo and I grabbed him, brought him to the processing area, got him cleaned up and ready to go. Camp was a pretty big camp that year, so we had to break down camp, load the trailer. And at that time, I'd forgotten about the dog. Parker said,
I said, "You promised me."
"So yeah." He reminded me of the promise, and I said, "Bud, we'll come back in 2 weeks. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day, cutting up meat, unpacking. It was already past dark, late, and yeah, he Parker was relentless there.
I reminded you that we had a hockey tournament the next week, and then the week after that was Thanksgiving, so we wouldn't have had a lot of time to come back up there.
Yeah, so we loaded up, headed to the barn. I told Parker, you got one chance to get him. If he growls at you or bites you, we're going to abort the mission. And so Parker headed in there in the dark, got him collared up, brought him to the truck. He refused to jump in the truck. Um, so I had Parker get in the truck to try to coax him in. He still wouldn't go. So I said a quick prayer, said, "Don't you bite me, please. We're just trying to help." And I scooped him up, and gosh, he sure stunk. And I put him in the truck, and we headed off for home. So 30 minutes into that drive, we almost lost everything. I saw a deer running across the median, and I said out loud, "Don't you do it." And sure enough, she ran right into the side of my truck. I sucked her up into the wheel well. Trailer ran over. I mean, it was pretty crazy. There was blood, mess, adrenaline. Everyone was nervous. We thought we were going to wreck. So I pulled over, did a quick safety check. There was more cleaning up to do the following day, but we got back on the road and headed for home. The first few weeks, we honestly wondered if we made a mistake. The dog kept running away, chasing storms, kids crying that we lost him. He's peeing all over the house. I mean, it was pretty chaotic, but he kept finding his way home like he knew where he belonged. That year the tags got punched, the freezer got filled, but the real trophy.
It was River. Sometimes hunting brings home more than meat. It brings home family. If you enjoy real hunting stories and campfire moments, please subscribe and ride the adventure with us.